beautiful people. I am super excited. So last month, if you missed out, check out our stand for something or for anything discussion that we had that is available on YouTube and Spotify. I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm excited for this conversation that we're gonna have today because we're gonna be talking about our animales, our furry friends that live in our house. And it is super important because I don't know about you guys, but as y'all can see, there goes one guy right there. That's my baby. There goes one baby right there. That's my baby. And there goes these guys right here. Those are my babies. Those are my babies right there. And you guys know that Shadow passed away this year. I love him. And I actually want to open it up and share my story of both those babies right there, Sonic and Shadow, and their story. So Sonic and Shadow are from Animal Care and Control from the Bronx. I used to work there, and they came in, and during the intake process they actually thought that they were girls, and so their names was Athena and Tasha, and they were going to be euthanized at the shelter because they had ringworm. So I know certain shelters, like for example, the shelter in North Carolina that I actually volunteer at, they do not euthanize animals. If they have ringworm, they quarantine them and they go through that process, which I think is really awesome sauce. I did work at an open admission shelter that was funded by the county, so I know like sometimes policies are a little bit different there. But you know, of course, if you are in New York City and you want to adopt from Animal Care and Control, ask questions, look up more information, and find there's a furry baby in a lot of shelters, but I found those two beautiful furry babies in that shelter. So they were going to be euthanized due to ringworm, and working at the shelter, I don't know if anybody else could resonate. If you worked, have worked, volunteered, whatever, you know, you get so like, oh, okay, you do get attached, but every animal that comes in, I was just like, I had to check on them. I had to check on their number to see like how they're feeling. Did they find a home? Are they going to foster care? Just different things. So yeah, so I overheard that they were going to be euthanized, and I immediately during that time contacted my mom because I worked, and I was like, okay, we're gonna need a community to like help them get better. And my mom helped me, you know, she did a lot of the work, putting that PPE equipment on and just helping them get rid of the ringworms. And they were about 2 months at that time, and it was around Christmas time when they were supposed to go back to the shelter. So I was like, I think they're gonna stay with us. We adopted them, and their names changed to Fame and Fortune. That was the name they changed to, and then later on it was Sonic and Shadow. Shout out to my little brother with that name switch. But yeah, so fast forwarding to around 2016, my cat Sonic, one day, he's such a foodie. He's always been a foodie, you guys. And one day he wasn't really eating. He was hiding. It was just not his norm. So I took him to the hospital, and Value Vet Clinic in the Bronx near Parchester. So she ended up telling me that he had urinary blockage, and at that time I did not know what urinary blockage is. I did not know that cats can get crystals in their urine, and I was crying because I was like, how much is it gonna cost? It ran like $2,000. I think it was like either $2,000 or $2,200. I would try to look for the invoice. I couldn't find it. But listen, let me tell you something. That time I was like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna pay for this? What am I gonna do? And you know, I'm always just thankful and grateful for the community that surrounds me and just the light and love, because I did have money in my savings to pay for a portion of it, but I also had a lovely veterinarian that worked with me to be able to help me out so I could pay the rest. So he had to go on a different food, a different diet. Certain things had to change. He has to eat a certain way to this day, and that's 2016. We're in 2023. But also with Shadow, which is his brother, he was later diagnosed last year, 2022, that he had diabetes. And you know, that was also a crybaby moment, because I don't want any animal or human being to suffer. Know that he wasn't happy. You know, I just knew that my cat wasn't his best self. He had drastically lost weight, and he was definitely, his appetite was way more open. You know, a lot of times you hear, oh, the cat is overweight and that's why he's diabetic, but it was the total opposite. He was super slim, and he's always been a slim goodie, but he was definitely more slim than before. So he had to go on a certain type of diet also, and he had to take insulin as well. And that was a really tough time for me, because trying to work and then just trying to life, right? We try to have a social life, we try to have a personal life just for ourselves and to be around our loved ones. It was really hard to juggle, because I really couldn't travel like that due to him having to take insulin. And you know, I don't know if y'all ever been like a stickler on just having to check on your baby, and a lot of people go, oh well, that is just a cat. That's, my cats mean a lot to me, and I know we have some animal lovers in here, so you know, they're my babies and I want to make sure they're okay. And during that experience, his glucose levels definitely were low, and twice he had seizures, which that wasn't a really pleasant time for me to see, and it was really difficult. We had to rush him to the emergency vet twice, and later on he was prescribed, because he also had diarrhea, so he was also prescribed with some Purina. I'm trying to remember what it is, if I have it. I have it right here, and see, so he was actually prescribed with this, you know, and I know people use this for their fur babies for the gut. However, now I'm not a veterinarian with what I'm about to say here, you know, and I always say, so if you're a vet, trust your gut. My cat always had bad breath. Shadow always had bad breath. So for me, I knew that something was up with his tummy, because he's always didn't have like the best bowel movements, and if he did, it could be smelly sometimes or have different things. So when he was prescribed with that, within 2 hours he developed like a really bad stomach ache, you know, really bad. And you know, we took him back to the vet. Now we have to do MRIs, x-rays, and during that time I had to make a choice, and that was like one of the tough choices this year for me that wasn't the most exciting, because you know, I was very thankful once again to the community, and I always bounce back, because I had a beautiful individual help me to cover the expenses of a lot of his vet visits. And you know, I'm very thankful for him, because I don't know what I would have done if he was not there. But with MRIs and x-rays, it's just an expense that I couldn't afford, an expense that I just realistically couldn't do. And my cat was in a lot of pain. He was in a lot of pain. He was not comfortable. So, you know, I had to make the choice of putting him down. Excuse me. I had to make the choice of putting my cat down, and it was devastating and hard. And that's why I'm doing this episode, to raise awareness, but you know, also to just speak my truth, and hopefully we can get things established for people that may not have a community or may not have any funds, but they have a furry friend that they love. And that's what this episode is about, because you know, I tell people a lot, I'm very rich at heart, but in society that we live in, you know, sometimes I may not have the funds for certain things, and that shouldn't define me as a human being or limit me to have access to certain things. And like I said, my cats are my babies, so you know, I love them. And let's jump into it. So what is pet care while having a pet? So, and I'm speaking, what is pet care to me, y'all? Okay, I know, and let me know, what is pet care to y'all? There's different definitions, I believe, for everybody, so I would love to hear it. But for me, having pets, let me tell y'all, back when I lived with my abuela, you know, we could not, first of all, we was rescuing a lot of cats. You know, they was in the street, didn't have food, bringing them in, doing what we can. You know, we can't do everything. I wish we could, believe me, I'd be trying to do it all, you know, but we have to be honest with ourselves and be realistic. And so we did what we could. You know, we brought in cats, and we provided them food, a place that was warm, and it was, oh, I feel so emotional, excuse me. And it was just a place of abundance, and I'm just grateful for that experience. But we couldn't afford vet care. You know, that was something that was super expensive because we had multiple cats. So there was a lot of situations that we had to make difficult decisions, and it was really my grandma that had to make those decisions because I was a little kid. So having my fur babies, you know, I wanted to make sure that they were okay. I am really big on homeopathic health for my cats. As you can see, this picture right here, that's Cream. He's actually 15 years old. I adore him. So, you know, when you take your pet to the veterinarian, you have options as far as pet insurance, paying out of pocket, care credit, a credit card. And I just recently today found out that they do have some insurances that pay your vet directly. I found one that is kind of like a credit card. It's like a Visa card, but maybe some clinics won't accept it. So definitely, if you're interested in that, to look at that. As well as there are grants that will help pay for your vet care. Read the fine prints, because some of them may cover only a one-time or a small vet price, or some may be for recurring. Unfortunately, me applying for a grant for Shadow, no one answered in time. Also, depending on your state, which do your homework. I don't want to say it's in every state because I can't speak for every state, but I can speak for the state of New York. There are some low-cost animal hospitals that provide certain services. So check in your state too to see. I could not find any in North Carolina, so if you know any, please let me know. You know, hopefully that this could reach a veterinarian that may open their heart in the state of North Carolina. And I bet there are many veterinarians opening their heart to animal shelters, and I think that's also a blessing too. You know, hopefully can open their heart and open a low cost vet care, or even privately message me and explain, like, how does that look like, how can we bridge that gap so people can be able to get affordable vet care? Because I think, like, from my experience, but you know, like I said, I know there's displaced individuals that have pets that unfortunately they can't pay anything, and that can be life or death for the animal. And just in case somebody's gonna be like, so why they just don't give up the animal to the shelter? Some shelters are full here. There may be a waiting list. There may be different things. And also another thing that I like to say, people that don't have a home lost everything. Everything. They lost everything. Their dignity. You know, I don't know if you ever look and notice how people that are homeless are treated. Some people could give 2 F's about them. That they're not a person anymore. And if you've never been through that experience, please don't talk bad, because maybe that pet is their reason to live. And I've heard those stories, and I get emotional with these topics because we just treat each other so badly. And we got to do better. We got to do better as a unit, as a whole, but to do better for each other. You know, so if anybody is able to offer low cost or anything like that, or are interested, that would be great. If you're interested in adopting a pet, you know, go to petfinder.org. Go to petfinder.org. I think that that's a great one. It shows shelters, and you know, you can find foster groups, and you know, maybe you're like, I want to adopt, but I kind of want to fill out the animal. I kind of want to figure some things out. So, you know, see if you can volunteer. I think that's a great one because it gives back to the shelter. It lends them a hand. And also, you never know, you might be like the dog walker of the shelter, and you find little Bobby there, and he's so cute, and you're like, Bobby, that's it, I love you. and you can bond that way. You can also see if you can foster if you have more time at home. It's a great way to bond with a furry friend, or see what other programs they may have that you can lend a hand to kind of get a feel too, you know, because adopting a pet is a full-time responsibility. It's not just, okay, I got a little pet. You know, I think a lot of times us beings, not everybody, but some beings become so preoccupied with life that we kind of forget that we have pets, and that's not good. And not, I know we're not perfect and things happen, but keep that in mind when you are adopting a pet, is that, do I have time for this pet? You know, because do I have patience for this pet? Because when you adopt an animal, they come with their own character too. So it's like, do you have patience to learn this pet? Do you have enough money to cover food? Do you have enough money to cover vet bills? You know, and maybe you do, and things happen too, you know what I'm saying? Like, you may have the money, then later on you may not. That happened to me. So you can't, it won't be like the perfect plan, but these are some good questions to ask yourself. Like, these are some good base questions. Or even visit the vets, I mean the animal shelter, and see what other questions they may have to have you thinking, like, can I take this responsibility on? And especially when having dogs too, like, you want to be mindful. Like, one of the questions I think is a great one is like, will this dog be in the crate all day? You know, I notice a lot of people come to me with a conversation of, my dog is in the crate. When I take the dog out, he's so excited, always jumping, and I can't keep this dog. One, you have to have patience, and two, you have to train your dog, and training a dog takes patience. Because I don't know about y'all, but think about it from a kid's perspective. Imagine I go to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and I know that might not be your kid's time, but just keep on. And I'm sitting at the desk. Maybe it's not a subject I really like. We've been there. I've sat on the desk in the same classroom. This is back when we didn't change classrooms, or maybe we changed, you know, in the middle of the day to another class to sit in the desk for the rest. And then, okay. So now when we in recess or we get out of school, you know, and I had to take public transportation. So you hear the buses all crowded, everybody scream, because we need enrichment outside of just that learning. It's the same thing with animals. Imagine being confined to one spot. Some dogs don't even have the space to roam because they're in that crate. So when, hello, I would jump out and want to play too. Be mindful of those things. Just because they can't speak our language doesn't mean they should be treated less. You know, that's your baby. That's your baby. So just ask yourself those questions. And two, animals can live longer than you think, you know? Some people are like, oh, you know, a pet's only gonna last this amount of time, and then I say, you'd be surprised, okay? They might surprise you. And you never know how much they could change your life too. You know, every animal that I've ever came in contact with, whether it was through dog walking or volunteering or boarding, daycare, or fostering, or having a pet of my own, they've all added so much value to my life. So, okay, food that maybe you no longer need, if you have items you no longer need, donate them to your local shelter before throwing them out, or a person that you know may not have the financial, maybe not be in the best financial situation and need help with food. Those items, if possible, if you know someone that is in need and they have a pet, that would be great. Going back to talking about homeless people and their pets, you know, I have come across individuals that be like, I am working, I do have a job, it's me and my baby, me and my dog, we stay at a motel that allows pets, and the problem is I can't afford 3 times of the rent, you know. So that's right there, some income stuff. You know, things are getting more expensive, but the hourly wage stays the same. So that's one problem. But we also hear situations where they're like, I can't afford 3 times the rent. However, they have breed restrictions and I can't stay there. And it's perfect for my rent. It's perfect for the budget I have, but I can't stay there. So we have to stay in a hotel. And, you know, I want to highlight this too, because a lot of breed restrictions is pit bulls. Like, one of the big breed restrictions is pit bulls. And one of the number one dogs in shelters are pit bulls. Like the biggest breeds in the shelter are pit bulls. And I've noticed from my viewing is a lot of people love to breed pit bulls as well. Pit bulls are not bad dogs. And I'm not trying to throw shade on if you had a bad experience with a pit bull, nothing like that. You know, to be honest, in my experience, it's really how you train them. It's really how you treat them too. If you've been abused, if you face trauma, if you've been going through stuff, you may not have the best attitude. Maybe that could be their experience. As well as depending on how they train. Are they trained to be aggressive to protect the home? Are they trained to be more protected to protect that person when they're in the street? You may not know their full story. And I think for us to have restrictions on animals because of certain stories, or just counting them all as just bad or aggressive breeds, I feel like really is an issue that we don't only do with animals, but we also do with ourselves, to each other. You know, so I would love for apartment complexes in the state of North Carolina and the whole United States, and maybe this is going on in other countries as well, to really remove those restrictions and see how we could come together. What will be some great suggestions that we can make that allows each dog to be a case by case, or to really get to know that dog, feel that dog, learn about the owner, you know, have that conversation, be upfront, be honest. You want safety in the community, absolutely. And that way we can remove these restrictions and welcome people that truly can and need a home, that have great dogs. That really comes together with unity. This whole thing is about animals, of course. We want our animals to feel beautiful, like we want to feel beautiful. But it really goes back with loving ourselves and being mindful and intentional how we treat each other and how we treat ourselves, how we talk to ourselves. So then that way we can treat our surroundings and treat others that are in our life better. There are a lot of beautiful animals here that really do need our help in shelters or strays. And we really do need to be mindful of that. And speaking of strays, okay, I drive around the community. I have a Meals on Wheels program, and for you guys that don't know, Beartha is a 501c3 nonprofit that promotes health and wellness for people and animals through community resources and support. And one of the ways we do that is by handing out pet food and plant-based meals on wheels in Wake and Durham County every day in the morning time. So with driving through the community, I see a lot of cute little furry friends, and I want to share this story because this little guy is so funny. So I was driving one time, and I was driving in Riley. It was a trailer home community, and I was driving there, you know, talking to a lady, and this little dog, it was this beautiful sunny day, and I feel like this was like a cartoon, but it was this beautiful day, and he was just rolling in the grass. He was like the happiest can be. But I don't see an owner. It's not a fenced yard. So I'm like, okay, I don't want anybody to hurt him or, you know, to abuse him or anything, you know. And then I think about the wildlife too. He was a little chihuahua, and I think about the wildlife. So I'm just overthinking. And yes, y'all, I am Paw Patrol at the same time. So I will investigate and find out what's going on, okay? So, you know, I was like, hey, little guy. Yes, I talk to animals like they humans. I rolled down the window, like, hey, little guy. He said, so I was like, I don't know. He might be a little bit, you know, he's like, hey, you messing up my sunny day. But whatever. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull over to the side and fill him out. So a gentleman ends up coming. So he moves. And he, you know, runs over there perfectly where I parked. So I get out. Then I see a stray cat, but we'll get to the cats in a minute. So I'm like, hey, because he goes down this road, and he's like, I'm like, hey. So now he's barking. So he's barking loud. I'm like, okay. So I know my little moves. I worked with animals for a few years. I started backing up, and I forgot what his name is, but you hear his neighbor call his neighbor. You hear his mom calling him. So I told her, I said, is this your dog? You know, so that's her dog or whatever. And we gotta put collars on your dogs. Put collars on your dogs. so we know. You know, some people in that experience may call the animal shelter to pick them up. And guess what? Now your dog is missing. You know, put collars on your dog and try your best that when you want your dog to be outside with them. You know, it's the same thing with cats. Put collars on your cats. Me personally, in my opinion, I do not think that your pet should be outside by itself. You know, because like I said, the wildlife, that's just be me. And then some people, you know, sometimes they don't like animals and they don't want the animal to walk up to them, and I don't know how they're gonna react. So, you know, that's also something as well. So I stay with my furry friends, you know. So put collars so that you know, and if they do go missing or are lost, you know what I'm saying? So you can be mindful of that. And also, your animal should not live outside full time, okay? Especially during the cold weather, okay? Keeping water out in certain weather, your water will freeze. Then they won't have drinking water, you know, or when it's too hot, you know, that's not good for them to be outside. Always keep your animals hydrated, but also treat them like they have some rights and bring them in the house. It's okay. And that's also something else. Is your animal going to be living full-time outside? And if you have a house, make sure that your house is safe, just in case if you do let your animals out in the backyard, so that way they don't run into other people's yards or into the street, because I've seen that happen. So be mindful. Really think before you make a decision of adopting. And also, it's the holidays. Animals are not a gift. You don't know if that person has asked themselves these questions or what they're really thinking, if they could fully commit. So talk to your friend and see, or your lover, or your child, or whoever, and really see if this is a commitment that is worth giving a shot. Okay? I love you guys. Appreciate you guys for listening. Be sure to subscribe on our YouTube, Beartha, or like or follow on Spotify, as well as follow us on IG, Beartha919, and subscribe to our newsletter, Beartha.org, so that way you can stay up to date with our events. We have a support group coming starting in January. Come join us. It's every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you can just express. It's a non-judgment safe zone. We have one-on-one support groups as well. It's totally free too, so come through, because you know we got things to do. Come through, listen, have some fun. We have in-person events. We have volunteer opportunities virtually and in person. We have things going on to help the community. You're not alone, okay? And if you need assistance, whether it's for you, whether it's for your fur baby, whether it's for both, please feel free and do not hesitate to contact me. You could via email, telephone, and you could go to Beartha.org. It has all that contact information. If you're interested in being a sponsor, if you're interested in making a donation, visit Beartha.org and click on donate. We have different options for you to be able to donate. I appreciate you guys for listening. Love y'all.